Good afternoon. This is Shaylin Mace. Today's date is December 2nd, 2024. I am doing this for the class of Transportation Systems, and I'm an Ivy Tech student. Today, I have chosen over our project for safety. We have chosen to decide between making choices between air, pipeline, and other divisions of transportation, their safety regulations. For this project, I have chose to go over motor vehicle regulations. A few regulations that I have noticed for motor vehicles include with driving commercially, a commercial driver's license is needed. Commercial driver's license drivers or CDL drivers are prohibited from taking drugs or alcohol. This is a major thing when carrying so much weight and so much risk on our public roadways. Now, they also test them yearly, and if they cannot continue with the physical or the eye test, they cannot continue, and that is part 40 of the FMCSA, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. Noise compliance is a regulated thing as well. These are very big vehicles that create not only a lot of visual impairment on the roadways, for in strict traffic conditions sometimes you can't see around these big 18-wheelers or so to say, but they also create a lot of audio noise and a lot of decibels, so there are regulations on putting dampeners on the vehicles as well. Motor carriers have specific rules and regulations when it comes to working hours and fatigue. CDL drivers cannot work more than 60 hours per week in the U.S. This limitation saves lives by the reduction of fatigue. When people drive in these trucks, a simple mistake could mean slightly swerving, but when you're dealing with such big vehicles, it could lead to catastrophic consequences. Over-the-road truck drivers also have resets that they have to do after so many miles and everything that they've driven their vehicles. These are tracked electronically now, which also that tracking of how that vehicle, how long has gone, also allows for a lot better visualization when it comes to where trailers are GPS wise. I do recommend you do a lot of your own research, but the best place that I found the research that all other websites would automatically tie into was FMCSA. The DOT website ties into it for the same information. These federal publications are very in-depth, and there are regulations on even how seats are manufactured and what style seats they can have. Another main safety feature that they have in those publications is showing that the seat level has to be at a certain degree and a certain height depending on your windshield level to ensure visualization. It is important to note that these vehicles are very heavy. So with these very heavy vehicles, we have to be able to stop them. Well, all heavy equipment is used with pneumatic compressors that are built up by the engine themselves. So this pneumatic or air pressure is relayed to allow for a lot more stopping power. This is what the majority of the brake power is from, and this also applies not only to the tractor but also applies to the trailer, where in this instance the emergency application for brakes is actually the regular brakes themselves or the manual brakes. These hazards are very important to remember. They also need routine maintenance done on these vehicles a lot. So based on however many hours are worked or anything like that, these aren't something like a car where you can just turn around and, you might be able to stretch limitations on things. When you start to begin to stretch limitations on these vehicles, it's not just loss of money, but it could very well be a loss of life. Another feature that when it comes to motor carriers are the trailers. A lot of them have tandem axles. Tandem axles give flexibility and balance to a load by being able to shift where the weight is balanced at. So they have a higher rate than a normal single axle, which is usually around 26,000 pounds. These have a maximum weight bearing of 46,000 pounds. A lot of weight needs to be placed into consideration when you're dealing with safety on the road, because if they start carrying too much weight, the stability while driving may cause them to veer or not be able to correct and cause collision. But these tandem axles, if they aren't shifted properly, not only on the road, but moreover when they're in a yard, if they don't have the axle shifted in the correct position, when a forklift driver begins to drive on and off to unload and reload things, they can actually tip the trailer. The last major area of safety in the motor carriage that I have to talk about is hazmat. There are numerous regulations that I encourage you to look at more in depth, for anywhere from the securing of materials inside of a load to these regulations of safety where when travelated in populated areas and possibility of spills, certain hazardous material isn't allowed for long transits. Permits are required and carbon copies of these hazardous material forms are required to be carried by the driver at all times, as long as where it's coming from. Improper fines for improper transit can range from anywhere of $79,000 for a civil violation of hazmat violation, anywhere to $250,000 for a criminal violation of hazmat. My main sources were the Federal Highway Administration, which is fhwa.dot.gov, and the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, fmcsa.dot.gov. I hope this has been interesting for you. This has been my Ivy Tech presentation for Transportation Systems class on safety regulations. An overview to just go over very quickly how motor carriers are and different safety aspects you might not consider that they have to abide by when on the rules of the road. Thank you.